Hello and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 2nd, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 276, and this is a time machine episode because Merwat could not make it to yesterday's show. Well, so now it's tomorrow. I don't know. Anyway, I am Merwat, and along with the Sentient AI from the future, we're going to talk about the Disney dilemma for Uber. You don't want to visit this Marburg. An AI-generated podcast episode. World War II bomb detonates under Japanese airport. No more speaker cables. Krabby Patties at Wendy's. Yes, officer, this is an emergency. Hazy IPA and a beer without hops. No frills, just pain and suffering on this flight. And fake test results from a COVID lab owner. Everything's powered by ohmTown.com, so go over there and become a citizen. ohmTown.com. All news, no noise, and every source of information, well, the ones we know about and like and respect, get aggregated into ohmTown. If you know of one that you are interested in having part of our programming, send an email to mayor@ohmTown.com. If you want to host, do the same, and we'll see you on the other side of this. So welcome to the show. Oh, my watch is picking up reflection of lights. Okay, gotta remember that. Hello, Sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
Pick up that can. Oh wait, that's not what you say anymore. You never did, actually.
Or ever.
Whoops. Maybe it's just me. Hey, we've got 10 articles. This is the daily news show that we do, which is called Non Sequitur News, but we do weekly shows as well. It's a reduced playlist, only 5 articles, but all of our news that we think would be worthy for inclusion for the day will be part of a list that gets posted over on Patreon. So go over there and follow us. Join us there on Patreon. There's a free tier and there's a paid tier, and everybody gets it, but we'd like you to sign up over on Patreon. It's real easy to find us. ohmTown is over there. Okay, let's get into this. First article's over in 4-Wheel Tech. Uber claims that a couple with a life-altering crash can't sue because their daughter ordered a pizza. Boy, does this sound familiar?
They're taking a page out of Disney's playbook.
Yeah, so I titled this section The Disney Dilemma for Uber. New Jersey couple John and Georgia McGinty were riding in an Uber in March of 2022 when their driver got into a wreck. They both survived, but Georgia spent a week in critical care with a fractured spine and abdominal trauma, while John escaped with quote-unquote only a broken sternum and a hand injury. Well, you know how it goes nowadays, right? If you purchase one thing from somewhere earlier,
at any point,
you are now, it makes it impossible for you to sue somebody for other abuses that might take place or injury suffered at the hands of another. So, because that worked out so well for Disney when they tried it, says Colin Woodard over at jalopnik.com. Yeah, pretty wild. As the Independent reports, when the McGinty's tried to sue Uber over the crash, the judge determined they couldn't because they'd agreed to the app's arbitration clause in its terms of use when their daughter used Uber Eats to order a pizza.
I mean, what's the biggest risk when you're ordering food? That your food doesn't show up, or it shows up one slice at a time or something? You don't expect this.
Indemnification for anything in the future. Yeah, pretty wild. So unfortunately for the McGinty's, the fact that something can be so laughably absurd doesn't mean it's not legal. The New Jersey Supreme Court issued a ruling saying, quote, we hold that the arbitration provision contained in the agreement under review, which Georgia or her minor daughter, while using her cell phone, agreed to, is valid and enforceable. That's right. Not only is it enforceable because their minor daughter may have ordered a pizza through an adult's phone. Apparently that gives somebody carte blanche to also invalidate a prosecution for an
Right, it's
accident.
even worse than the Disney in that sense. Obviously, not the severity of what happened, but
It's insane. So how would I ever, quote, how would I ever remotely think that my ability to protect my constitutional rights to a trial would be waived by me ordering food? John told The Independent. Georgia also questioned how the court could rule that the authorized her child to waive that she, the adult, authorized her child to waive their rights to go to a trial if they're injured in a car accident. That's a phrase that really would come about from talking to an attorney, because that is a very streamlined, like cogent statement.
right, nobody would state that as a person.
You would just kind of snap and go, "What the frick? Ordering a
No, my
pizza?"
kid ordered some food.
Yeah. That's So my attitude is the same as the author here. It says, if this bullshit sounds familiar, that's probably because Disney recently tried the exact same thing when a man filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the company after their wife died from an allergic reaction after the restaurant had been notified that they were allergic to certain things and assured that it would have been remedied in the kitchen. Well, that didn't quite take place. Well, anyway, the Disney Plus terms of service requires them to go to arbitration. Let's just say they backed off of that, swallowed their legal tail. I would have said pride, but stuck their tail so far between their legs it went all the way around and landed in their mouth.
Oh,
Anyway,
like an Aurorabus.
yes. Um, but there used to be a website called F Company. It still exists, but it's a book now, and the person just got burnt out, I guess. The guy's name was Pud. Well, his nickname was Pud. And I don't think that there's anything going on anymore, but man, that is such a target-rich environment. There's so much bad. I chose, outside of the time machine, to not include another Boeing blowout of a tire.
Yes.
It's just
I mean,
nonstop.
every day, right?
It's just nonstop. There's been 5 Cybertruck recalls in less than a year.
I don't know what form of transportation is safe anymore.
You have to stay home, and then because of climate change, you've got these freaking bugs everywhere. You can't even go outside. You get accosted. Anyway, so
I was thinking you were going toward, I don't know, flooding or something, but okay.
well, I mean, yeah, not everybody's getting moist. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. We only have the title from this, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to read it, but Hamburg train station platforms have been closed over a suspected Marburg case. And having been in Germany, there is a town in Germany called Marburg, but this is not the Marburg you want to visit. Just letting you know.
I didn't know there was a town named Marburg in Germany.
Yeah. So this is over at telegraph.co.uk. Maeve Cullinan is the global health security reporter, which seems like niche within the niche. But yeah, parts of Hamburg's train station were cordoned off on Wednesday afternoon after 2 train passengers suspected of carrying the highly lethal Marburg virus were detected. Passengers were evacuated from a train after a man with a recent travel history to Rwanda developed flu-like symptoms.
What about the other person?
Well, one person developed them. The other person was associated, if I remember right.
Okay.
So after a man said to be in their 26-year-old medical student and his girlfriend reported flu-like symptoms. So I don't know if they both did, but odds on, yeah, they did. So,
well, and if anybody remembers, Marburg is kind of similar to Ebola.
and
It
has
has
a
a very high,
fatality rate.
right.
Yeah. So one of the two suspected Marburg patients began vomiting on the train.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what?
So
That's what we need is one of these viruses in a mass transit situation.
So this is an early Time Machine episode, and I just have to say that it's really early, 5 o'clock on October 2nd, because we're doing the Time Machine. No shit news. Quote, he then called the fire department because he suspected something was wrong.
Okay, that's a little odd because most people probably don't call the fire department if they get sick. So,
Well, yeah.
what did that person know they encountered?
They came from Rwanda, and Rwanda is currently battling what is believed to be the fourth largest outbreak of Marburg in history. At least 9 people have died, dozens more infected since the first cases reported just last Friday.
I don't know. Do we learn any lessons?
Well, we all can't just turn off all the borders and the airports. I think we need to come up with something that does screening in a faster way. But borders are going to end up being 20 miles wide so that you can store all the people while they're being tested.
Well,
But-
exactly, because you can't let somebody in and infect everybody and then go, oh, wow, you shouldn't come in.
Yep. Meanwhile, that's exactly what's going on. Everybody's infected, all up in here. You know what? Mayor Watt forgot to put everything into the,
Show notes.
Yeah.
Exclamation point NSN.
Yeah, but that's not going to allow them to pull it because I didn't put it in the show note bot in ohmTown. And ohmTown is not smart. Not smart like you. So hold on. Let me do it real quick. I'm doing it live, folks. I'm doing it live. It may be messy, but you'll get them all. Doink.
Oh, is it one of those where you have to guess the order?
Yeah, it will be. Whoops. Heck, it may be one of those where you have no idea that it even is this show. Okay, well, now I'll do it real quick. Hold on a second. So exclamation point NSN will pull up the articles from ohmTown. Yeah, they're not in the right order, but you can make it out. I mean, it's pretty obvious from the URLs.
Well,
Which
for
show we're talking
example,
about.
like Marburg is probably going to connect to this article.
Yep. Okay, so let's keep going. The next article is over in WarCrafters. Google generated a podcast from one of the authors at PC Gamer's articles. And it's the most convincing and eerie human mimicking AI that they've ever heard. I had already listened to this prior to its submission. And let me tell you, it's creepy. I'm just going to go straight on over to the source. It's over at pcgamer.com. Jacob Ridley put the article together, and it says a podcast generated in minutes by a bot, and yet I've heard worse. So
Okay,
what
but
ended up?
haven't we already seen extremely creepy?
Oh,
So-
this
Is this even worse?
is worse. So we've heard creepy, but it's largely a human interacting with AI. It hasn't been AI interacting with AI, and it's seemingly interviewing. And if you remember, what was the name of the bot that had these? I forgot the term for it. These little interstitial phrases like stop words and breathing in little micro actions.
Oh, like pause to kind of mimic natural
Breathing
language
and
or
pauses, interruptions in a moment, in a time where you would naturally interrupt. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. It may get me in trouble. I'm not sure. We'll find out. I always get an alert. But what happened was the author wrote something in 2023 called "Cache is King." CACHE is king when it comes to designing the gaming CPUs of the next 20 years. Well, using Notebook LM, they waited for around 4 minutes, and out pops a 10-minute long podcast segment. And this is what it sounds like. Let me see if I can make it actually work, because I've got new software in place. So hopefully it's not screaming at us.
Buckle up.
And more specifically, what's going to be powering the games we love in the years to come.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
I had this article from PC Gamer you guys sent over about CPU design over the next 20 years, and let me tell you, my mind was blown reading this thing.
Yeah, it's amazing how much things are about to change.
So true. So let's get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the article jumps right into this idea that we're kind of hitting a wall when it comes to CPU speeds. Like, remember the days when you just looked for the highest clock speed and that was it?
Right, like a higher number automatically meant a better CPU.
Exactly. But apparently...
Okay.
There is no way that is not two people.
That is entirely AI generated using Google Notebook LM, which is free to use. But so they blurt out, what the frick, and basically you have to chalk it up at some point. Humans are going to get replaced, even at the podcast level. Now, the reason why somebody watches or listens to a podcast or a stream or something like that is largely because of the person, their personality, the fidelity, the audio, etc. But this just kind of struck me as being surreal, because if a person becomes interactive but uses this as the generator for the podcast, but for all other intents and purposes, they are interactive in social media and pretending to be the people in the audio segment of it, you would never know. And people would buy into those two that are talking.
This just doesn't sound like AI. It sounds like people would actually speak.
Yeah. So it blew my mind. And I think that more of that is going to come as time progresses. Speaking of that, let's keep on moving. The next article is over in Mobile. 87 flights canceled after a literal World War II era bomb explodes at Japanese airport. I saw pictures of this again before it was submitted. I thought it was really interesting. And, if it gets submitted after I look at it, then I'm like, oh yeah, this has to be interesting. So I tend to include that stuff. But a Japanese transport ministry official told Reuters that the explosion occurred and created a 23-foot wide, 3.2-foot deep crater. After the incident, the official said that the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force confirmed that a 500-pound American World War II era bomb was to blame, and it's unclear what caused the sudden detonation. I don't know if there's going to be pictures, but what I saw was it was underneath one of the not roadways. It wasn't one of the I don't think it was one of the whatchamacallits, the landing strips. But
okay, yeah, that could have been a lot worse.
Considering it's probably a Japanese World War II era airport turned civilian airport, then yeah, it probably was a runway. But let's take a look at this. Maybe they've got a picture. Oh, they don't. Yeah, from what I recall, it looked like a runway, but it was really close to a building, so I don't know if it was a runway. Maybe it was a taxiway. But per the official, the bomb had likely been buried beneath the surface amid a World War II air raid. Back then, Miyazaki was a Japanese Navy flight training field. Other exploded bombs have previously been found at the airport, but apparently if it was buried and hadn't detonated, much like what has happened in the Middle East, there have been bombs that didn't detonate when they impacted the ground and they penetrate deep enough. They may get covered up and nobody is going to go around digging after ordnance, So they just cover it up and move on. Japan's top government spokesperson, Yoshimasa Hayashi, told the outlet that no further flight delays or cancellations are forthcoming. Repairs at the airport are expected to be completed by Thursday. I would probably want to do some metal detecting.
Yeah, I mean, do they know this is the only one? I don't know. This is not what I would expect when I see, like, oh, a bomb went off. I'm thinking a small one or something, but a 23-foot crater?
Yeah. ABC News reported that unexploded bombs from the war remain buried around Japan and are sometimes dug up at construction sites.
I mean, as it happens to everybody, right?
As one does. Yep. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. No more speaker cables. New tech uses your home's power lines to transmit audio. I don't know how I feel about this.
I don't know about this. What happens when you have a 3-day power outage?
Oh, you're not allowed to listen to any music or anything. That's how it works. New sound over power line tech might let you position your passive speakers anywhere you can find a power outlet. No speaker cables needed. Now, we've used this technology before, everybody. There's been local area network, Ethernet, power line, or power over Ethernet, or I should say networking over power line adapters, but then you're transmitting all of your data over your power line. It affords you the ability to transmit without running new cable anywhere. All you have to do is plug in, but any noise in the network causes some pretty dramatic delays, and it's not that secure. But the article's over at Digital Trends. Simon Cohen put the article together. No more speaker cables. So I love this idea mainly because I hate speaker wire. Well, I hate wires, and so I try to be as wireless as possible. But with wireless comes security related issues. So if you don't have Wi-Fi 7 now, you should switch. Get as current as possible because it always includes the latest security innovations. But anyway, audio Q, which is probably CU for copper. I think that's copper, isn't it?
It is. Mm-hmm.
That's the promise of audio CU, or audio copper. I probably pronounced audio copper. A technology developed by Scottsdale, Arizona Facetto. It uses your home's existing power lines to transmit up to 10 channels of lossless high-res audio at up to 24-bit 192 kilohertz from a single transmitter to multiple receivers. I think it's great. It's not the ultimate in fidelity. You can go beyond 24 bits, but 24 bits of data sampled at 192 kilohertz is a tremendous amount of audio fidelity for wireless transmission.
I'm not sure if this is good or bad for consumers.
Now, as long as you only use it for broadcasting music across your particular power lines, fine. What I don't quite, I've never looked into this, and so I can't really poo-poo it all the way. But if you're sending the signal into your power lines, you're adding noise into your power lines. So
is that a fire hazard?
No. Well, I mean, what it can do is cause noise. And if you have equipment that is sensitive to noise, then you basically have to worry about it causing problems. Now, I don't know enough about this to dispel that kind of idea that there's something there. So for me to sit there and kind of poo-poo this in any way or endorse it, I would have to do a deeper dive. But it says that it received Dolby Atmos certification for audio Q or audio copper from Dolby Labs, and the company claims it's the first ever audio over power line manufacturer to do so. Incidentally, CU is the periodic table for copper, is what it says in the article. Using power lines to transmit data isn't new. Several networking companies like TP-Link have been making power line networking products that act as alternatives to Ethernet and Wi-Fi. However, solutions focused exclusively on multi-channel, multi-room audio have yet to become mainstream. This is likely because of the inherent difficulty in creating fast and robust connections over wiring that was never meant to perform this role. So that is one of the issues, but really my problem would be the noise injected into power lines, and it's adding this noise all throughout your network and into the power lines. So can anybody else pick up your broadcast?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
So it says a transmitter plugs into a power outlet and a TV or any other device that has an HDMI output, and the receivers plug into power outlets and have standard positive, negative, red, and black speaker cable terminals for wiring to a speaker, plus an RCA output for subwoofers. So you don't have to run the cables all over the place. Eventually you do. But you don't have to run them across the floor or whatever. But you do have to put your speakers wherever there's an outlet.
Right. I mean, this seems like at least in the short term, it's a win, but may not know until this is really implemented.
Yeah, it might be interesting to look into more. So if you're really into audio, then give it a chance here. It says at the moment, Falsetto has no timeline for retail availability of the audio copper system and isn't discussing prices. It says that it's going to first make units available to audio integrators only starting at the end of 2024. So count that as expensive. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. It says BEVER, Bever? I don't understand what that means.
No, I don't either.
I think that's
I saw that too, but it's done, I think, intentionally, because I think I looked at this, but I think it's in the actual article too.
So ever wonder what a Krabby Patty tastes like? You can try one soon at Wendy's. The article is by Corin Cesaric over at cnet.com. Pardon me one second. It's okay. I'm back. Yeah. So
I still don't know what the BE means.
Yeah, so I think it's a glitch in the Matrix because they bold their headlines, and I think it's the HTML code for a bold title.
Oh, okay.
So just the aggregator kind of derped it. But anyway, ever wonder what a Krabby Patty tastes like? You can soon try one at Wendy's. Corin Cesaric over at CNET put the article together, and the deck statement says the burger chain is celebrating SpongeBob's 25th birthday by adding a Krabby Patty to the menu for a limited time. And here's what to know. So that's what it's going to look like. It's kind of like a Happy Meal sort of thing, but it's a Wendy's meal, I suppose. If that's what their fries look like, then KFC basically got rid of their fry style and Wendy's picked it up.
Exactly. Those look like really good fries.
Those are wedges. And boy, I really like that style. So the fast food chain, Paramount and Nickelodeon are teaming up to celebrate 25 years of SpongeBob SquarePants. Oh.
Watch out. Now you're going to get a strike.
Yeah, really. Who has a marketing agreement between Paramount and Nickelodeon? SpongeBob SquarePants.
You're still in tune.
So the Krabby Patty collab burger is Wendy's take on the most coveted recipe in all of Bikini Bottom, the chain announced on Wednesday. 2 limited time items will be available to order nationwide in person and on Wendy's app starting October 8th, but don't tell Plankton. So next weekend.
Pineapple Frosty sounds pretty good.
Pineapple mango flavored puree swirl. I almost said swill because Plankton would say something like that. Okay, so here's what we know.
The Krabby Patty sounds good too.
The Krabby Patty will feature a 1/4 pound of beef, 2 slices of melty American cheese, crisp lettuce, tomato, pickle, onion, and a top secret Krabby Collab sauce on a toasted premium bun, according to Wendy's. And when you read that, it almost reads like 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions.
Oh, I thought you were somehow putting it to the tune of SpongeBob SquarePants, but I agree. It does sound reminiscent of the McDonald's thing.
Yeah. Can you reset your audio again? Okay, so the next article is over in Mobile Channel. Man steals ambulance to race to his car theft hearing, cops say. Yet another story about a man who can't stop himself from committing a very specific type of crime. A man from Oklahoma named Cody Adams found himself in even deeper legal trouble than he already was in because he allegedly stole an ambulance so that he could make it in time to the courthouse for a scheduled hearing about a previous car that he allegedly stole.
You know, that's definitely a way to do it in style.
You're still kind of gravelly. All right. So the article is by Louis Prada over at Vice.com. As the story goes, Adams was reportedly at a gas station in the town of Stillwater, Oklahoma, asking anyone who would listen if they could drive him 30 minutes to Pawnee so he could attend a court hearing about a car he had stolen in the past. And nothing says, trust me, like telling people, hey, I've stolen a car. Can I get in yours? According to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, he hopped in and drove to Pawnee to attend his car theft court hearing. A highway patrolman spotted him ditching the truck and promptly arrested him as he walked into the courthouse. And the trooper ensured Adams attended his hearing and made doubly sure that Adams attended jail right afterward. Oh boy. Medics in Florida were treating a guy in another instance who they believed was under the influence of drugs when he hopped into the driver's seat and sped away. So, you know, ambulances. Why? Wow. Let's keep moving. This one is interesting to me because I'm working on trying to get a show operational about brewing. So in a world of hazy IPAs, these beers use no hops at all. When the American craft beer boom took off in the 1990s, which apparently is in decline now. So
I don't see that. I mean, in YouTube, it seems like everything is kind of pretty hot right now.
yeah, I think so too. So maybe it's, well, not everybody is susceptible to it, I suppose. I'm turning you up a little bit there. All right. Anyway, didn't take long before we got brews that were hopped to high heaven. But in the grand scheme of beer history, hops are actually a relatively recent addition. Literally a relatively recent addition. Sometime within the last 90 minutes.
Sometimes at the last minute, right?
Last minute. So, no, your audio. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Keep talking. So, yeah, don't change anything. So, some recipes have you adding hops basically like a minute before the end of the boil. So you decide if you're going to do a 60-minute or 90-minute boil, and then you can dry hop afterward during the fermentation of the beer, right? And that can be days long dry hopping. Then you pull the hops out, or you just let it sit there and drop out of solution to the bottom. And so what's interesting is this really does translate into something. I had somebody say something about hop oil recently, that they weren't quite sure about the solubility of hop oil in beer, because
Isn't that the same as hops?
it is hops. That's what gets extracted from hops, is hop oil. And it actually is soluble in alcohol, not water. So the alcohol that's generated during fermentation absorbs all of that hop oil, and it all stays in solution, along with the other aromatics and stuff like that, that are water soluble, as well as others that are alcohol. It all depends on the chemical makeup, right? Well, you can get away with embittering beer, I guess, even without hops. When Bavarian beer purity law, the it's Reinheitsgebot. You have to say it like that.
It's very intense sounding.
Everything in Germany is like I love you is Ich liebe dich.
Right, you sound like you're being yelled at or something.
Yeah, exactly. Which if you don't understand the language, then you go, I'm sorry. And then that's really bad. But anyway, so your beer purity, Bavarian, specifically Bavarian, man, I almost slipped into my accent there. Bavarian beer purity law requires only certain things: barley, water, hops. So yeast was allowed too, but wasn't officially incorporated into the law until a few centuries later. Regardless, many of the nations following suit. So, but if we roll back the clock to pre-purity laws, hops weren't there. So, regardless, many of the nations.
Like, aren't they viewed as like the essential part of beer?
In modern times, yeah. See, your interface is starting you out quiet and slowly ramping you up as you talk. Sorry. We'll have to figure this out because it isn't always the same way. It's very frustrating, but that's okay. So if you roll back to pre-purity law times, it turns out that brewers were throwing all kinds of stuff, wild herbs and botanicals, into their brews without any hops at all. These were known as gruit beers, and there's a handful of breweries today that are still making them. So if you have allergies to hops, then these are actually your go-to. So in a nutshell, gruit is a catch-all term for a blend of herbs and plants, excluding hops, used to flavor beer, basically aromatics. Subsequently,
what is a grit?
Excuse me. What is a grit? So everybody just used what they had in the first millennium AD. All beer in Europe relied on gruit for the same purposes. So I'm really quiet to you now. What kind of...
Not anymore. You were earlier.
Oh my goodness. So it's herbaceous history, and this article over at VinePair by Pete O'Connell put the article together, and go visit it. It's over at vinepair.com. I will not be able to do this justice in the short amount of time that we have for each article. And like all these times, I encourage you to go over and then come back and talk to us about it. Go ahead.
But what do you think this will do to the flavor of hazy IPAs or the hazy IPA experience?
Honestly, I don't think that you can hit the same tone as a hazy IPA, right? A juicy IPA, I'm telling you, like I never really got into it. Like hazy IPAs, this grapefruit and stone fruit and all of that kind of this sometimes strawberry, mango, whatever, but that like grapefruit really stands out in front of this. You hardly get any bitterness in it, but that's what you're going to get from this is that low bitterness, high fruity kind of flavoring, but you're not going to get that damn near orange grapefruit flavor and effervescence and just that fresh flavor that you could drink this until you're unconscious. You know, a juicy hazy orange IPA. New England IPA is typically that.
Well, we don't recommend doing that much of it.
Everything in moderation. So it says a lot of herbs used, as a matter of fact, were effective. depending on the herb, it says they got you high, Hunt said. On top of the sorts of plants tossed into the gruit ales back in the day, the predominant herbs used were America Gale, wild rosemary, and yarrow. In yarrow, there's a chemical compound called thujone. It's in wormwood too, which is actually illegal. You can't use real wormwood now because of its deleterious effect when you drink it in absinthe. There's a different component now that you can make absinthe. The problem with that, with new absinthe that's made by people, is it oxidizes and turns brown just like any other spirit that gets aged. It's just the nature of the beast. And some organizations, some companies tint it with dye so that it stays green. It says it's a bit euphoric, and the federal government today only allows it in insignificant quantities. So you can say that you've put wormwood in it, but it's really just a couple of drops. It's not that much. At least that's what I've been told. I don't mess around with it. So once the church caught on, hops not only became allowed in British brewing, but they became more valuable than gruit herbs. They were trying to be more proper and civilized. Hops chilled you out, but it's really the beer. So yeah, there's a lot more to this. And like I said, we won't be able to do it justice, but you can brew a beer without hops, but it will be fundamentally different than what you drink today. And even today, in the United States in particular, what comes off the shelf from other than craft brewers is post-prohibition consolidated beers that lack the full gamut of craft brews. And some people just want a sessionable beer, and they're cool with, basic Miller. But then if you want a craft brew, drink something local. The range, the gamut is much broader, and you'll thoroughly enjoy a craft brew better than anything from a mass producer.
Yeah, it seems like you're going to get a much different experience from craft brewing.
Yeah,
Plus just a lot of different options to try.
There's a bunch of different techniques. There's a bunch of different hops that are out there. Some of them are from other countries where it's pricier, and so instead of it being $5 a beer, it's $7 a beer in a craft brewery place that doesn't have distribution channels, because that's where it's really expensive. Trying to get that stuff out to other states, they can actually brew it locally and distribute it within their state with relative ease. Because you can just go to a restaurant and they can sell it. Even if if the brewery doesn't have the ability to sell, they can still distribute. But look into it if you're interested in this kind of thing. Some states are actually supporting the expansion of craft brewing because there's still room. Some states don't have that many craft breweries, and so it can make you independent and decide your own fate just by spinning up a brewery. All right, let's keep going though. This next article I titled, what was it? Yeah, no frills, just pain and suffering on this flight. Wiz says passengers will suffer through 7-hour flights on its new Airbus A321 XLR for cheap seats.
What kind of marketing is this?
It's for sadomasochists, really. I wonder if this is the one where you're sitting, like one person is sitting here and another person is sitting here, and so you're hot bunking. Yeah, quite bad.
I don't know if it is, but that seems like a pretty miserable flying experience.
And like I said, only pain and suffering on this flight. So Wizz Air is set to launch new long-haul routes using its upcoming Airbus A321 XLR. The first flights, a 7-hour trek, will start in March between London and Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, Wizz Air will offer significantly cheaper flights compared to competitors like British Airways. So, no, I don't know. Looks pretty. So what's wrong?
What's the problem? Yeah. It
Taylor
looks
Raines. Yeah.
better or equivalent to other cabins, right?
Yep. Taylor Raines over at Business Insider put the article together, and let's see here. See, this is why I don't log in, because it's one of these sites is going to dox me, I swear. So the Hungarian carrier announced in September that its first Airbus A321XLR flight would start in March, trekking 7 hours between London, Gatwick, and Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Wizz also scheduled a similar length A321XLR route between Milan and Abu Dhabi from June. I don't know. Okay, so this reads like it starts in March, but the 7 hours of flight time
Takes you that many months.
yeah. So it's gained a lot of hype for its extended range that can reach 5,400 miles or 11 hours nonstop, opening new route opportunities previously unreachable or unprofitable for airlines. So to me, this isn't you're going to suffer, really, but that's really what it is. You're going to have to sit on a flight for 7+ hours, just nonstop, right? There's no chance to deboard at a stopover, a layover, and spend a couple of hours stretching your legs or anything.
Right, but it also says it's high density, so
Yeah.
I wonder how close the seats are together.
Yep. And I had been meaning, maybe I can do it over the weekend or this weekend, do the show and include this. But I wanted to highlight the consolidation of airlines, particularly in the United States. There used to be like 35 or something like that, and now there's 2 or 3 big airlines, and the rest are puddle jumpers that barely inch their way by. So the carrier's London to Jeddah ticket prices start at about £135 or $180 one way, about 1/3 the fare of British Airways. So gonna crush British Airways.
Well, yeah, I mean, because people don't really care how many frills if they can save if they can save hundreds of dollars.
The A321XLR answers airlines' demand for smaller aircraft that can shuttle more people further. The new narrow body has an extra fuel tank that extends its flying range, flying about 800 miles further than its A321neo LR long-range predecessor. This means that it can open more airline route options, particularly on lower demand city pairs that can't profitably fill a wide body plane. So yeah, everybody is going to have to hit a maximum weight limit of 112 pounds probably. Otherwise you have to buy a second seat.
Oh, yeah.
Minimal legroom, no recline. You'll have to bring in your own oxygen.
I mean, the no recline might actually help with the disputes.
Yeah, right. You won't get kicked out for being a tool because somebody doesn't want to set their seat in the upright position. Everything beyond a random seat and a personal item costs extra. So if you want that oxygen mask.
Right, that flotation device, anything.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you didn't pay for it, and they pop it.
Wow.
Online menus, food bundles starting at about £8 or $11 include a sandwich, drink, and a snack. Soups start at $5, while a water bottle costs $4.25. Alcohol, chips, and coffee, among other items, are also on sale, but you'll have to give a blood sample to see if you're compatible with those in need. Oversized personal items like your child will cost $64 at the gate. It doesn't say that, but they have pretty pink stuff so that you're a little disarmed. Everything okay? I see a lot of pink. Sorry.
Yeah, it makes it look for something that it is.
Some of us divers are against pink stuff, so Not all of us. I don't mind pink. Anyway. Check bags of varying weight, as well as sports equipment, can also be purchased for an additional fee. What? You can purchase sports equipment for an additional fee there? The way that it's written,
Right,
it
I know.
it implies.
I'm like, wait a second. That'll really help with the space if somebody's knocking
Yeah.
a tennis ball around the cabin or something.
They're playing tennis in the galley. All right. Well, there's more over here, but it says board passengers can read the in-flight magazine, but that's going to cost you $5. And that's not actually true. And the last row of the cabin will likely have no window, and people will be stacked like cordwood across all 3 seats on either side. And it's going to be Jack and Jill, so you'll get to see feet.
I don't know. I feel like it's just like an objective to make flying difficult and unenjoyable for everybody.
I think what they need to do is make it like a coffin hotel, where you go in and you stash your bag somewhere, but then you slide into something that just kind of holds you right there, like laying down. And you could put 4 people tall in one row, and stack that many people, maybe more. I mean, if you put a little ladder there, you can do it like the Japanese coffin hotel. I think that's fine, right? No worry about.
No, I don't think that's okay.
And then it can seal shut in case of a water landing, and it is your flotation device. I'm giving them ideas. Now, America's new flagship suite on the A321XLR has sliding doors. The A321XLR has secured more than 550 orders worldwide from budget and mainline airlines alike, meaning it can fit into both business models. Wizz is an example of A321XLR's budget layout. Carriers like American Airlines and United Airlines plan to install multi-class cabins with lie-flat beds in business class. So all you poors can go sit in the back, sucking on fumes, while all of these cabins up front, flagship cabins is what it says here at the front right there, flagship.
Nice. I mean, that's okay as long as you're not in there with strangers behind the door.
In Seats with Strangers is my next podcast, where I take a random flight and I interview the person next to me, willing or not. I ask them questions and then point a camera at them. I've gotten some strange looks, asked to stop, but I won't stop. I'm a rebel. Moving on. Next article is over in Mobile. COVID testing lab owner is a complete dingbat, pleads guilty to giving fake test results. Zishan Alvi bought at least 5 luxury cars with the money from his scheme. Matt Novak put the article together for Gizmodo.com. So yeah, the owner of a medical testing laboratory in Chicago. Why don't people use pled? Why is pleaded guilty?
I don't know.
Is that just the vernacular for law? Okay, for law reporting. Anyway, they pleaded guilty to 1 count of wire fraud on Monday, according to a press release from the U.S. Department of Justice. Alvy's facility, known as Lab Elite, was releasing negative COVID-19 test results to patients that either weren't performed or were inconclusive. The only reason anyone figured it out was that some patients received positive tests while waiting for their results from Lab Elite and were confused by the contradictory information from the Chicago lab. And he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for your damn viruses.
Except for those pesky COVID positive patients.
Yeah, killing other people with their virus because they think that they're not positive. Well, I guess you could say that he wasn't positive. Wasn't positive of the results. He was positively taking the money. The only reason anyone figured it out was because some patients received positive tests while waiting on the results from Lab Elite. So if they were faster,
they would have never gotten the other test, I guess.
Yeah. They would have gone, oh, no, we don't need that follow-up test.
So the only good thing is that it was slow.
Right. Wow. So in a court filing from 2023, prosecutors laid out how Alvey submitted roughly $83 million in false claims to the Department of Health and Human Resources sub-agency known as Health Resources and Services Administration, or HRSA, which sounds like a virus in and of itself, from February 2021.
They may want to rethink that abbreviation, right? Doesn't it sound like MRSA?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. MRSA is for male, and HRSA is for female. Get it? Or MRSA.
Get it.
Or MRSA is
I
for.
thought we were going for non-gendered words.
MRSA is for mer people, and HRSA is for anyone who identifies as female. How about that?
There you
So,
go.
Alvey's lab was raided by the FBI in February 2022, and the 45-year-old pleaded guilty this week for $14 million worth of fraud. Not all of that $83 million in false claims, apparently, but only $14 million, acknowledging that he knowingly submitted false claims to HRSA. Hardly knew HRSA, according to a DOJ press release. Right. Well, that's the nuts and bolts of it. You can watch the rest or check out the rest over at gizmodo.com. That's it for our time machine episode. Yeah, I made it with 4 minutes to spare, and I can vamp for another 3.5 minutes before we have to turn off the time machine. Otherwise, we'll be stuck in time. We'll be stuck in time. We'll be stuck in time. All right. Well, anyway. I'm going to jab myself with a COVID testing strip. And here's to sticking a cotton swab up your nose and swirling it around until you hit brain. While you're flinching, I'm going to end up back at the front page of ohmTown.com, where you can go and visit. Once you sign up, you can get more functions, but right now I broke the menu earlier today. You don't see the hide and the ignore and save things. Yeah. But you can do that. I mean, you can sit there and go like that, and it'll hide it or it'll save it. And I'm risking getting some bad news on the front page while I'm streaming. That's okay. Anyway, we are done. Thanks for coming and hanging out. We're gonna reset and do the Thursday,
October 3rd episode.
The October 3rd episode, like the Sentient AI from the future just got done saying. Oh, and if you haven't noticed, look, I've got a bigger screen now. Well, this side here is actually chopped off, sort of, because I have the end of the window here, but I can actually go a whole lot further now. Way there it is, right there. Yeah, because now I've got a 20-foot green screen behind me. All right. Inside baseball. Still have 1 minute and 15 seconds. Should we sit here and say
to end early?
Really? You don't want to hang out? All right. Thanks for hanging out, Sentient AI from the future. You want to say bye?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for a time machine episode of Non Sequitur News. Be back soon.
Yep. See you in a little bit.